Hey, how's everyone out there doing? This is Amy Hamilton, author of The Project Manager, Life is a Project, and The Consummate Communicator, Character Traits of True Professionals. This is coming to the conclusion. I am down to the final three. It is so exciting. 24 authors, 12 hours, January 20th, Inauguration Day edition. And I just have to say, I am so completely and totally honored that I have Pamela McCoy with me here today. She wrote a book into how to help people and become the best version of themselves. And I would just like to welcome you, Pamela, to the show. And can you tell us a little bit about what inspired you to write your book?
Well, probably for the past, 15, 20 years, I've been doing inspirations, right? So pre-social media, all of that, I was texting. It was kind of like this organic text ministry came about. I had a few friends that were going through some things, and so I would just send them an inspiration, right? It could be a scripture, a quote, something someone said, just something to inspire them. And that just kind of started organically growing. And I looked up out of nowhere, and there were like 100 people, over 100 people I had on this text that I was sending every morning. And then social media kind of took off. And so then I was doing a few people on social media or what have you. But now, even today, I still have like 34 people that I still text every morning. But for those who follow me on social media, I post an inspiration every morning, Monday through Friday at 5:55 a.m. And so you might wonder why at 5:55. Everything that I do in my businesses, so I have two businesses, the BONA5D Credit Consultants LLC, which is spelled different, the BONA, the number 5D, and my newest business venture, which is the B5 Reaffirm, which is of course spelled with the 5, all of them around the number 5. And the reason being that 5, biblically speaking, 5 is the number of grace, right? And so I post at 5:55 a.m. those inspirations. And so about, I think it was like 2016, I was going to speak in Atlanta at a women's conference. I was going to be the keynote. And of course, as being a keynote at a women's conference, you get the vendor table and all of that kind of stuff as part of the package. And so I thought, oh my gosh, how am I going to be the keynote at a women's conference, have a vendor table, and nothing to sell? Not a good look, right? And so in that moment, I was like, I'm going to have a book to sell. And leading up to that, people always, oh, you need to write a book, blah, 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 blah. And so I did have a book idea in mind, but that book idea was more in depth, and I couldn't do it in short order. And this was so not the norm of writing a book and you being an author, so you know, but I literally wrote this book, published, had it in hand in less than 45 days. And how does that happen? That is what I call, in those who follow me and have been on my website, you'll see my moniker, my infamous #GISCC. And what does that mean? God is so crazy cool. And so being able to write and publish and have in hand a hard copy of your first published book is definitely a #GISCC moment. God had to be in it for that to happen, but that is what happened with my first published book. In less than 45 days, I had it in hand to take to that women's conference that I was speaking at. And so that was the impetus to get it done. And it kind of is a culmination of those inspirations that I've been posting for many, many years. It is a quick, easy read. It's broken down into what I call 5 categories as opposed to chapters. And they're little pithies. And there are 3 components in each one of them. It gives you an inspiration. And of that inspiration, it'll give you a life application. And then, of course, a financial application of that inspiration. And so the title of the book, of course, is BONA5D BITS, where inspiration and intellect collide with your finances.
So that's a really good take on, how can we improve our finances and be inspired? A lot of times I've heard people when they discuss their personal finances, they find this very depressing. I don't think they're
Mhm.
inspired. So how do you
Right.
get people inspired and on the right track for their finances?
Well, for me, everything is fundamentally founded and based in my faith. And it really, like everything else, is about your mind shift, right? It's all in how you think about it. And it can be daunting when you think about money, but we've got to kind of think about it in the positive perspective. And it's all about your mindset, right? And you got to face it to fix it, right? And so you've got to decide that you want to be different to do different. And once you kind of made up your mind that that's what you want to do, that's the first step. Just like changing anything else, you have to have a made up mind.
No, and such an important concept about getting your finances and straight. So often people feel like, oh, it's just too daunting. It's not something that I want to do. And we had a speaker earlier. I think you're familiar with her actually, Shantae Haynes, and she's
Mhm.
talked about destined to prosper. And I find that the two segments really tie well together. And
Mhm.
for those of you who didn't have a chance, that was pre-recorded earlier in the day. And the two really complement because in the end, your finances, they can impact your mental health, they can impact your spiritual health, they can impact, your physical health. I mean, if you're so stressed out about finances, it might actually give you ulcers. It could create all kinds of negative things. Do you want to talk about how inspiration can help you to be better at your finances?
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, I did. You were talking about the physical. I did a conference a few years back called Fiscal, meaning your money, and physical. Do you know that they're correlated? And it's exactly what you were saying, that people have, the stress and the ulcers and all of those kinds of things, but they don't stop and think that when you peel back the onion, as I like to say, all of these circumstances and situations in life, if you peel back the onion, there's a dollar sign at the bottom of each and every one of them, right? And so really, when you talk about inspiration, it is about that emotion. And if we can get some positivity as it relates to that emotion, and the calm comes in and the stress level goes down, then we can kind of start thinking about these things that are so important, right? And start looking at them through a different lens, if you will. Because when you're really stressed out, you don't make really good decisions, right? And that kind of lends itself to the other side of my business, that B5 reaffirm side, which is all about the whole self-esteem and all of that. Because if you're not in a good mental state of mind, you do not make good financial decisions.
So let's talk a little bit about the B5 Reaffirm, your newest endeavor in your second book.
Mm-hmm. Well, the second book is in the works, but the first product in the B5 Reaffirm is actually a physical. I don't know if you can see here. It's a physical product. It's a tangible box called the B5 Reaffirmation Box. And what is a B5? I'm so glad you asked. A B5 is, I am a B5 is the mantra. And a B5 is a bona fide boss with brains, beauty, and a believer in me. And the target is females initially. And that mantra is to inspire, to encourage these young women and to teach them that really Antonai is like what I like to say, all that I need, I already have. And it's meaning that value their self-worth, they're what they have to offer the world with regards to their self-esteem. It's really within them. It's deep down inside. They just don't know it yet. And so for them to learn, that's where they will find that empowerment. That's where they will find that inspiration. That's where they will find that strength that really lies deep within them, in spite of what the world might try to tell them or show them in that negative recording that so often plays in their mind, that's self-defeating. I don't know if you're aware, but 7 in 10 young women feel that they don't measure up in some way. 7 in 10, that's astonishing. And in the statistic that suicide is the number 2 cause of death in the age of 10 to 34. And it's all about not so much what other people think of the individual, but what they think of themselves, the self-esteem piece. And that's why B5, right? And so the other mantra for this new initiative is that I'm me, and to teach these young females that I'm me is not only an emphatic statement of worth, that I'm me and that's all I can ever be. And so to teach them to be the best me that they can be, it's also an acronym, and that acronym stands for Improve My Mental Esteem. And that's about that journey that we're on, that it's not a destination, because we'll never really truly arrive because we're a work in progress, right? But it's something that we work on each and every day.
Such very, very important points. And
Yeah.
We're almost halfway through the segment. One thing for the audience out there is January 20th. If you want to download my books, they're available for Kindle download free for the entire day. So please check that out. It's The Project Manager, Life is a Project, and The Consummate Communicator, Character Traits of True Professionals. And I feel like in so many ways that my project management book ties well into what you're talking about. And it's a female character, Ashley, and she goes through this struggle where she's a great project manager, but her life is not organized at all, right? And as she goes through this struggle, she realizes the same skills that she has at work can be applied at home. And when I listen to what you're saying, so many times we are put on that facade in the outside world, and we're like, this is who I am. But when we go home, we lose that self-confidence. It's so many women I know, they have that self-doubt that eats away at them that you're talking about.
Yeah, and to your point, that they don't even really realize it. And the other thing is that they don't realize that some of that comes from their childhood. And it's not because we chronologically get older that it miraculously goes away. If you don't address it in childhood, it just grows and goes with you into adulthood. And so with this box, with this B5 reaffirmation box, is also a workbook. And the workbook, of course, is called Grace, right? Which is the definition of grace that we were just talking about, but it's also an acronym. And I like to use a lot of acronyms because it helps people remember, right? And so the acronym is goes along with the activities in the workbook. And so the G, the activities are around gratitude. The R in the workbook, the activities are around reflection, and the A is around the attitude, C is around character, and the E is around esteem. And these activities, those words will allow you to reinforce affirmation and reaffirmation, which of course is what the box is designed to do. And these things are so important, to your point, of helping to build and reinforce self-esteem, which is exactly what you're talking about. You think your boss, right, on the job, but the data doesn't lie. And the data shows that, how it actually affects your lifetime income, your lifetime salary, when your self-esteem is low. And so we need to reach our young girls early on to build this self-esteem so that we can send strong women. And today is momentous on so many levels for our young women. I am just so excited about what today means for our herstory. We made history and herstory today.
So I think it's so important what you're talking about. And I'm going to go back to the G for a minute in your grace. There's a book, Grateful Leadership. It's by Judith Olmos or Olmos. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. It is a terrific book. And when you read through the book, one of the things that struck me is she actually cites some research. The human brain cannot be stressed and grateful at the same time. It's actually physiologically impossible. And so the importance that we practice that gratitude, because that gratitude is going to help us to release that stress and to not be stressed. And so it's great that that's the first thing that you start with, is that gratitude.
Mm-hmm. And that it comes in so many forms and fashion. It's beyond the just saying thank you, right? Even, I work with a group in things as simple as acknowledging the sun shining, right? That we're grateful for that. But also when it rains, right? Because we need the rain as well. And so it's not like, oh, I'm so bummed because it's raining outside. We're grateful for the rain because it purifies and it helps things grow, and like that we can always find something to be grateful for, even on our worst days.
Yeah, and it's also switching the paradigm. I told someone the other day, the negative side was I have to clean my house, right? The positive side is I am so grateful that I have a house to clean, right? I mean, so many people out there suffering right now, so many people who don't have that same luxury. And so, be grateful to clean your house because you have a house over your head.
Exactly. And so, for our young people to show them and point those things out, because they tend to overlook and not see those things as gratitude or things to be grateful for. They just see the big picture gratitude, right? Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Thank you. Please. Right. And that is gratitude. But there's so many other things. And so they would just see, oh, well, I didn't get what I wanted for Christmas, but you got some kid got nothing. Right. And so just kind of pointing those things out. And to your point, the gratitude can exist with stress at the same time. So it's a choice that we're making. And so we can choose joy.
And, a couple of our earlier authors had some really moving tales that were just hard to listen to.
Yeah.
And, Leah Tran and Sarah M. both talked about their experiences in their respective countries and having to flee. But one of the things that struck me about both the stories is they both said, like, I wouldn't change it for anything, because it's these experiences, these really difficult struggles made me into the person I am today. And to actually, in some ways, be grateful for the things that challenge us, because they're going to make us better people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I once knew someone who said, I am a part of all whom I have met. And I really liked that quote, because it is, even the negative people that you have met, or they've helped form you into the person. And I once told one of my mentees that, I one time had a boss, and it was the worst boss ever. But I said, but I'm grateful for that, because what I learned from that particular boss is what kind of boss I never wanted to be. Right. And had I not had that experience, right. So you can learn something from anyone and everyone. And if you go through life with that understanding, so even the negative people, you can learn something, even if it is simply what you don't want to be.
So such an important point is learn from the negative, don't repeat it. Learn from the positive, try to repeat it. We have a comment that came in from one of our viewers, and has to do with mentoring. And so what I would really like for you to maybe address as we're getting closer towards the end of the segment is, what can the people listening right now or to the future recording, what can they do to help mentor and pay it forward?
Well, I would say making yourself available, right? Because there's so many opportunities to mentor, and there's so many that need mentoring. We're putting together, for the boxes, we're actually putting together a program to launch to be able to sponsor boxes for at-risk girls. So stay tuned to the website. And even now, if you want to sponsor a box, please go to the website and reach out to me. You can purchase a box to be donated to a young girl at risk. I'm serving women who are victims of sex trafficking, runaways, girls who are in the Department of Juvenile Justice initiatives, or what have you, girls who are at risk. So please, but there's so many kids who just, oftentimes they just need someone to care, right? Someone to listen.
Pamela, what's the age group that you're targeting?
Initially, it's 13 to 18 years old, but honestly, I hate to box it in because I have had and worked with some senior citizens even through this B5 reaffirmation box program who benefited. It's been amazing because the reality is all of us suffer from low self-esteem. It's just a matter of to what degree. And what I mean by that is your degree of which you're suffering will determine how quickly you bounce back. Right?
Yeah, one of the people I'd encourage you to reach out to, and I can put you in contact with after this, is Erin Bear. She spoke at one of the previous 24 Authors in 12 Hours. She's just a phenomenal person. And she wrote her book, Beaten to Badass. And her books go to domestic violence shelters. And when I hear this story and I think about these women and what they've been through, I mean, something like this could really change their lives.
Yes, definitely. I would love to connect. And I've been blessed to partner with the Girl Scouts. So we've actually taken my logo and it's been converted to a patch. You can see here. So the Girl Scouts, we put together a separate program for the Girl Scouts. So they actually have tasks that they complete to earn their B5 patch to go on their sash. So I'm really excited about that partnership with the Girl Scouts to be able to impact lives in that way as well.
No, that is such a tremendous thing, the outreach that you have, what you're doing. We're getting close to the end of this segment. I cannot believe how fast things go through. Is there any questions that you still wanted to address? I haven't asked you about you yet. I feel like our journey has kind of been meandering. That's how so many of these segments work out. There's all these things I plan to ask you, and then wow, the time is running out. So what are the priorities? What things do you want for this audience to take away from your message?
If they want to order the book, that's at bona5cc.com. If they want to order the boxes, it's at the b5reaffirm.com website. Again, just as I always say, each one, reach one, lead with your heart. Let's love on one another. You know, Joe Biden said today, let this be the day, the beginning of unity, you know, of us leading with our hearts, and that we're all one, you know, we are the United States. So if we start there, everything else I think is just going to fall into place. So yeah, just lead with love.
Lead with love is so important. And love has been a theme that's been coming up throughout the authors today. One of the things that I wanted was to provide an alternative to negative news right now. And so 24 Authors, 12 Hours, January 20th edition. The importance is, you know, we connect with each other. We respect each other. We may be different, but different doesn't necessarily mean wrong.
Absolutely. And thank you, Amy. This platform and what you're doing, giving authors the opportunity to connect with you, to connect with the audience, to connect with the world. I know you're doing international, you know, so really it's connecting with the world. I think this is awesome. So kudos for you for putting this together. I'm delighted to have been a part of the 24 Authors in 12 Hours. This has been awesome.
You know, and you bring up a good point about this being an international venue, because before the COVID and the pandemic and everything happened, I was definitely in that place. Like so many people were, oh, poor me, I can't put my book in this big launch and go to places. And wow, it changed everything though. I mean, now it's a global audience. Now we've just shifted this paradigm and people are really able to connect in a different way. So instead of looking at it as a negative, like I can't go out and speak at a local, you know, Rotary Club or something, we've really opened it up that you can speak anywhere at any time.
Yes.
And it's for b5reaffirm.com. Please check it out.
Pick up your book, Bona5D BITS. Yeah. Either way, love being here, love connecting with everyone. God bless. Stay safe, wear your mask, wash your hands, all of that. Until next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.